Hello there and welcome to the news tonight here on Rajya Sabha TV, where we get you through the day's top stories from India and across the world. I'm Tracy Shilshi, and in the next 30 minutes I'll be getting you all those top stories. But first, the headlines. Second major tragedy in Mecca in 2 weeks. At least one Indian among 717 people killed in a stampede during a ritual at the Jamarat wall. Over 800 others are injured. In New York, Prime Minister Narendra Modi is all set to launch a day of economic diplomacy. Will seek investments for India's flagship Make in India program. India's Mars orbiter mission Mangalyaan completes 1 year. ISRO releases special atlas on the occasion. The migrant crisis sparks tension among European neighbours. Croatia bans Serbian citizens and vehicles from crossing its borders. And Saurav Ganguly is named as Jagmohan Dalmia's successor to head the Cricket Association of Bengal. No clarity, though, on who will replace Dalmia as the BCCI chief. Top story this Thursday evening, where Prime Minister Narendra Modi is in fact in the US and began his 5-day visit today. He started his trip with a meeting with CEOs at a roundtable on financial sector. Modi will address world leaders at a landmark UN summit and meet top CEOs in the Silicon Valley during his stay. He will also be meeting US President Obama, but is unlikely to hold any sideline meeting with Pakistani Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif.
Drummers and dancers greeted Prime Minister Narendra Modi outside New York's iconic Waldorf Astoria Hotel as he began his 5-day visit to the US on Thursday. The hotel will also host Pak Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif, but the MEA has ruled out any sideline meeting between the two leaders as of now.
If a handshake happens, you will get to see it. If a pull aside happens, you will get to see it. As of now, there is nothing, no bilateral meeting on the schedule.
During his visit, Modi intends to plan a common strategy for UN reforms when India G4 nations. The reforms will be in view of the text-based negotiation that is now on UNGA's agenda.
After 2004, this is the first time that a G4 summit is being held, and we regard this as very, very substantive and very significant, especially in light of the fact that the UN General Assembly recently passed a decision calling for text-based negotiations and presenting text.
I would assume that process of negotiation, which begins in the early part of the 70th session of the General Assembly, should conclude, as our Prime Minister has called for, with a concrete outcome on the reform of the Security Council.
Modi also wants to bring forward India's position at the UN Sustainable Development Summit. India wants to be a key stakeholder at the Sustainable Development Goals and Agenda 2030.
Initiatives that have been taken by the Government of India in the past year, focusing on development and on specific sectors of development, especially energy, sanitation, water, empowerment of women. All of these are part of the Sustainable Development Goals. So for the Prime Minister to participate on the first day in the first session of this summit is a very, very big signal of how important the summit is for India, as well as how important India is for the implementation of Agenda 2030.
The Prime Minister will hold talks with President Obama next week, their third within a year, during which he is expected to stress on increasing trade and commercial ties with the US.
The meeting between the Prime Minister and the President, they will discuss the whole range of bilateral, regional, global issues. And economic engagement would certainly be a part of what they would discuss.
Modi will also interact with top CEOs of the IT industry in the US. He's likely to pitch for investments in Digital India and Make in India initiatives. During his visit to the Silicon Valley, Modi intends to tap the potential of the Indian community there to invest in startups back home. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
We will be tracking all those developments here on Rajya Sabha TV, but now let's take you through one of the top international stories. And at least one Indian is among 717 pilgrims who died in a stampede near Mecca in Saudi Arabia today. Another 863 people are injured. The deaths occurred on the first day of one of the holiest holidays of the Muslim calendar, Eid al-Adha. This is the worst Hajj tragedy Mecca has seen in the last 25 years.
A second tragedy in less than a month, at a time when lakhs of Muslim pilgrims visit the holy city of Mecca. One Indian is also reportedly among those killed. Over 1.5 lakh Indians are among over 2 million pilgrims performing Hajj in Mecca this year.
సెప్టెంబర్ 2వ తారీఖు ఇక్కడ నుంచి హజ్కి మన తెలంగాణ గవర్నమెంట్ తరఫున హజ్ కమిటీ వెళ్ళారు, హజ్కి వెళ్ళారు. ఈరోజు జరిగిన ఇన్సిడెంట్లో మా పిన్ని గారు తొక్కిసలాట్లో చనిపోయారు.
I am expressing deep condolences to the victim's family. I am feeling very bad about it. This type of incidents are happening there. We are requesting that government to provide all infrastructure facilities and also provide proper law and order.
Saudi Arabia responded to the disaster immediately. 4,000 rescue and relief workers are on the ground with 220 ambulances and other vehicles on standby. All injured have been rushed to the hospitals. Meanwhile, the Saudi health minister said that the stampede occurred because pilgrims failed to follow directions.
الحادث كما يعلم الجميع هو حادث تدافع بسبب الازدحام وبسبب تحرك بعض الحجاج بدون اتباع خطط التفويج من قبل الجهات الأمنية والتعليمات اللي تصدرها لهم.
The accident occurred around the Jamarat wall where pilgrims go to perform a ritual, the stoning of the devil, one of the main rites of Hajj. The stampede comes less than 2 weeks after a large construction crane toppled and crashed into the Grand Mosque in Mecca. 111 people were killed and 394 others were injured then. The two accidents have raised doubts about whether Saudi authorities are equipped to handle the increasing strain of pilgrims. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
On to more news. In India's Mars orbiter mission Mangalyaan completes 1 year in the orbit around the red planet today. The success of this space probe has not only boosted India's global standing as a space power, but has also captured global imagination as few things have done so far. It's been a phenomenal achievement for ISRO that originally intended the life of the Mars orbiter spacecraft to be just 6 months.
1 0 plus 1 2.
Going strong, India's Mars mission completing 1 year on Thursday, and it's good to keep going for many more years. ISRO marked the occasion by releasing the Mars Atlas. It contains images acquired by the Mars Color camera. Also in the works is a book, Fishing Hamlet to Mars, that will be released on 5th of November. It was on this day on 2013 that India scripted space history by successfully launching its low-cost Mars spacecraft. Less than a year later, on 24th of September 2014, India broke into an elite club of 3 nations. With clockwork precision, ISRO carried out the make-or-break tricky maneuver. The refrigerator-sized spacecraft was put in orbit as planned in the presence of Prime Minister Narendra Modi.
मुझे पूरा विश्वास था कि मॉम कभी निराश नहीं करती है.
The European Space Agency of the European Consortium, NASA and Roscosmos of Russia are the only 3 other agencies to send missions to Mars.
जिस तरह से फर्स्ट अटेम्प्ट में हम लोग वहाँ गए, फर्स्ट कंट्री थे जो फर्स्ट अटेम्प्ट में वहाँ गई, तो वो डेटा एक्सेस करके उसको इस्तेमाल करना हमारे लिए एक बहुत बड़ी अचीवमेंट है ये.
Before Mars orbiter mission, only 21 of the total of 51 missions sent to Mars have succeeded so far. Mars orbiter mission was successful on its very first attempt. The Mars mission is focusing on looking on the presence of methane, which will indicate life on Mars. With inputs from Aruna Thakur, Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And talking about its achievements, we've got in studio Ajay Lele, who's the research fellow at the Institute of Defence Studies and Analysis, the IDSA. Thanks so much, Mr. Lele, for joining us. You know, talking about its achievements, one of the things, of course, is that India has beaten China at this. In fact, Beijing, being forced to say that this is Asia's pride.
Definitely. If you really look at India's success, I think it is one of the most phenomenal successes in recent times, because no other country has ever succeeded in entering into a Martian orbit in the first attempt. So from that perspective, I think India is the only country which has done it very successfully.
And talking about the timing as well, it's happening at a time when the Prime Minister is, of course, there in the US. The US also, paying a lot of attention to this particular mission. Barack Obama himself talking about it, congratulating ISRO as well. Unofficially, it's becoming like a mascot of the Make in India campaign. That's a lot of people saying that.
No, definitely. If you really look at the timing, the earlier mission when India successfully had put MOM into orbit, immediately after that Prime Minister had gone to the US. So those memories are still alive in the minds of the people over there that India has done that achievement. And subsequently it was known that the mission lifeline is only for 6 months. But now India has exceeded 1 year today. So definitely it's a major achievement from that perspective too.
That's right. What according to you is also the other achievements that we are seeing as far as the mission is concerned? Yes, we're getting to know a lot more about Mars. Yes, we're getting to see all those pictures, of course. But, a lot of people also hailing the fact that this is actually quite a frugal mission. It's not something that has cost so much of the exchequer's money. And that in itself also is an achievement.
No, if you really look at the cost of the mission, it is hardly 400 crores of rupees, which actually amounts to even purchasing a very big bungalow into Mumbai or Delhi area. So if in such sort of a smaller amount of money, if a country succeeds into putting a mission up to the Mars and sustaining over there for more than a year now, definitely it's a very major achievement from India's point of view. As far as the mission is concerned, I think mission had two major objectives. One was to reach to the Martian orbit, and second objective was to sustain over here. I think we have achieved both the objectives very successfully, and now we are receiving the data from the 5 sensors which are on board of the MOM over there. And data is continuously getting analyzed by the scientists, and I'm sure in days to come, they will come out with certain amount of major findings from that perspective.
And not just talking about Mangalyaan, but just talking about ISRO as well. Really now among the top names that we can see as far as space research is concerned across the world as well, the US also paying a lot of attention to it.
You see, ISRO has been a success story for quite some time now, and we have achieved success into various forms of missions. That means essentially the purpose behind ISRO is to get into the socio-economic development of the country. So from that perspective, India has done pretty well as far as our remote sensing data network is concerned, as far as communication satellites are concerned. Now we are entering into the arena of satellite-based navigation. On the other hand, we have done exotic missions like the mission to Moon and now mission to Mars also. And now within, I think, by end of the next week, ISRO is launching a satellite called AstroSat. Now this satellite is going to be a purely scientific satellite which will do a lot amount of research. One can say that this is going to be ISRO's observatory out into the space. So from that perspective, ISRO has covered a wide area of canvas. It had looked into various aspects of space very successfully.
All right, Mr. Ajalele, thanks so much for joining us on this story. With that, let's take you through some more national news updates in Nationwide. The controversial Gujarat anti-terror bill has been sent to the President for his approval. The bill was twice rejected by the previous UPA government but was cleared by the Narendra Modi government later. The bill provides for admissibility of evidence collected through interception of mobile calls of an accused or through confessions made before an investigating officer in a court of law. The Supreme Court has ruled that it cannot monitor MPs' conduct in Parliament. An apex court bench turned down a PIL saying monitoring of parliamentarians' behaviour inside the House would amount to judicial overreach and interfering with the functioning of the legislature. The PIL filed by an NGO said there was no check on the stalling of parliamentary proceedings and it was wasted taxpayers' money. CBI today carried out searches at nearly 40 places in Madhya Pradesh and Uttar Pradesh in connection with the Vyapam scam. Premises belonging to alleged mastermind Jagdish Sagar and Dhanraj Yadav were searched. However, the searches are not case-specific and were aimed at unravelling the larger conspiracy of corrupt practices in conducting the examinations. 2 years after the Muzaffarnagar riots, the Judicial Commission has named several local SP and BJP leaders in the report. The report also indicts some police officers, including the SHO of the local police station, over failure to prevent the riots. The 775-page report has been submitted to the Governor and will be submitted to the Chief Minister, Akhilesh Yadav. A quick break here. Still ahead, more international news, and trouble grows for German auto giant Volkswagen. Now blames of rigging emission tests in Europe as well.
Welcome to The Big Picture from Washington, D.C.
A year after his visit to the US, Prime Minister Modi picking up from where he left off. What's the state of US-India relations today? Watch The Big Picture from Washington, D.C. at 9:30 p.m. on Rajya Sabha television. The poll juggernaut rolls out in Bihar. Modi's NDA takes on Nitish's Grand Alliance. Who will win this most important election battle since 2014? Watch Verdict 2015, Monday through Saturday on Rajya Sabha television.
Welcome back. You're watching the news tonight. Let's get to international news now. And as the migrant crisis continues unabated, it is leading to increased tensions between European neighbors. Croatia has banned Serbian citizens and vehicles from crossing into its borders in retaliation to Serbia doing the same on Wednesday. Meanwhile, EU leaders have pledged at least €1 billion worth of aid and a renewed sense of unity in dealing with the crisis.
Serbian cargo trucks waiting to cross into Croatia. Traffic chaos has prevailed on the border between Croatia and Serbia, with the two countries imposing restrictions on border crossings as they try and handle the migrant surge.
Our border is ready and open for any other car without registration, with Serbian registration. Bus with Serbian or bus with Serbian registration, he will not enter in Croatia.
Ja se nadam da ćemo postići nekako rešenje uskoro. Nažalost, vrlo je malo toga što Srbija sama može da uradi. Za ovo je potrebna volja da se obe zemlje usaglase, zašto smo mi spremni u svakom trenutku, i ove noći, i za 5 minuta, i za 3 sata, u svakom trenutku.
The two countries have banned cargo traffic and goods from crossing over as the row over which country will take in migrants turns bitter. Croatia insists that Serbia should direct migrants to Hungary and Romania as well.
I will to go to Sweden. I hope pass to Sweden.
Meanwhile, over 10,000 migrants entered Hungary, the highest single-day figure. As the country copes with the flow, Prime Minister Viktor Orbán has expressed willingness to consider letting people through to Western Europe.
Vannak nemzetközi egyezményeink, van egy európai jogrend, vannak politikai vezetőink, és van rendészeti erőnk, szükség esetén még katonai erőnk is, és igenis lehetséges a jog által megszabott keretek közé és mederbe terelni ezt az óriási embertömeget, és az ő Európa felé irányuló áramlásukat.
EU leaders also ended their meeting on the crisis, saying they had smoothed the divisions. Leaders of the 28-nation bloc endorsed a plan to spread the migrants around Europe, even to countries that do not want them.
Ebenso gehört dazu eine effektive Rückführung derjenigen, die keinen Anspruch auf Schutz in der Europäischen Union haben. Und dazu gehört die Einbindung und Unterstützung wichtiger Herkunfts- und Transitstaaten bei der Unterbringung und Versorgung von Flüchtlingen, bei der Eindämmung der Schleuserkriminalität sowie, und das wird uns noch sehr fordern, bei der Bekämpfung der Fluchtursachen. Sie kann nur gemeinsam mit unseren transatlantischen Partnern, den Vereinigten Staaten von Amerika, sowie mit Russland und mit den Staaten der Region des Nahen und Mittleren Ostens gelingen.
As part of the agreed short-term actions, the EU has pledged at least €1 billion more to the UN and other agencies, part of a broader push to ease factors driving Syrians to travel to Europe. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Germany has said that emissions manipulations by Volkswagen took place in Europe as well. The German transport minister claimed that the automobile giant rigged emission tests in European nations besides the US. However, he did not give any details of how many vehicles were affected. The German car maker has been gripped with the biggest scandal in its 78-year history after its CEO admitted to the corruption that led to multiple probes against the company. In fact, the Volkswagen management is likely to name a new chief on Friday after CEO Winterkorn stepped down on Wednesday.
Es wurde uns da mitgeteilt, dass auch in Europa Fahrzeuge der 1,6 und 2 Liter Dieselmotoren betroffen sind von den in Rede stehenden Manipulationen. Wir werden deswegen auch weiterhin.
And now let's get you through some quick international updates in Global Buzz. A bomb blast targeting Shiite worshippers killed at least 25 people and wounded dozens at a mosque in Yemen's capital. The incident took place during prayers for the Muslim holiday of Eid al-Adha in the Balili mosque. No group has claimed responsibility for this attack. Pope Francis today conferred sainthood on controversial 18th century Spanish missionary Junipero Serra. It was the Pope's first canonization on US soil. The ceremony was performed in front of 25,000 people in the Basilica of the National Shrine of the Immaculate Conception in Washington. Egypt's President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi today pardoned 100 prisoners, including Canadian Al Jazeera TV journalist Mohammed Fahmy. The pardons came a day before Sisi plans to head to New York for the 70th session of the United Nations General Assembly. Fahmy later said it was time to celebrate after a long ordeal. Colombian President Juan Manuel Santos and the top FARC rebel commander pledged to end their 50-year war in the next 6 months. Both greeted each other with a handshake with the Cuban President Raul Castro. They also agreed the leftist guerrillas will lay down arms within 60 days of signing the deal, and that now has the deadline of the March 23rd, 2016. With that, we'll take a quick break here. Up next, we're getting your sports news. Stay with us.
Today we bring to you the Merchant Shipping Amendment Bill 2015.
They are recognizing the fact that wreck removal is a thankless job. I think the fact that to have an insurance cover must on the vessel today, I think is of utmost importance.
Now with this wreck removal convention, the ship owner has to maintain a compulsory insurance cover. And it is his responsibility to have the wreck removed wherever in the world it happens.
Watch Law of the Land on Rajya Sabha television.
Hello and welcome to The Quest. Party people, they just suddenly took me, and I had not even in my dream thought of taking care of his party or entering into politics, because this was never my cup of tea. If I fail, my party is going to go down the drain. I was like a fresh entry. I think I am just trying to search for myself, my own identity.
Watch Lok Sabha MP Anupriya Patel Thursday at 10 p.m. on Rajya Sabha television.
Welcome back. You're watching the news tonight. Let's get you some news from the world of sports. And in cricket, former Indian Test captain Sourav Ganguly was appointed the president of the Cricket Association of Bengal today, ending the suspense on who will succeed Jagmohan Dalmia after his death last week. The announcement was made by West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee. However, top BCCI bosses met today to find Dalmia's replacement as the board chief.
On Wednesday, Sourav Ganguly had ruled out reports of talks on him replacing Dalmia as CAB chief. However, a day later, West Bengal Chief Minister vindicated the earlier reports. She announced former Indian captain Sourav Ganguly as Dalmia's successor to take care of the State Cricket Association.
যেখানে মাথায় একজন কাউকে তো থাকতেই হবে এবং আমার মনে হয় বেস্ট হচ্ছে জগদার সাথে যারা খুব ক্লোজ ছিল তারা সবাই মিলে বসে যদি একটা ডিসিশন নেয় ক্রিকেট ফ্যামিলি ইজ ভেরি ইম্পর্টেন্ট আমাদের
I'm thankful to my colleagues for giving me this responsibility and also the remaining 117 members. So from that point of view, if this 117 members agree, I will take over the responsibility and try and do the best for them.
Meanwhile, BCCI is still in the dark as who will replace Dalmia as the board president. After he died last Saturday, there have been several names that have come up as possible candidates. Two former BCCI chiefs, N. Srinivasan and Sharad Pawar, met on Thursday. While Amitabh Chaudhary expressed eagerness to replace Dalmia from the East Zone, name of Shashank Manohar is also being discussed. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And now let's get you all the on-field action in sports news. Indian shuttler Ajay Jairam climbed up 7 places to be ranked world number 25 in the latest rankings issued by the Badminton World Federation. Reaching the final at the Korea Open helped him re-enter the top 25. K. Srikanth and P. Kashyap retained their 5th and 8th positions respectively. In the women's singles, Saina Nehwal continues to be number 1, while PV Sindhu remained at number 13. In football, Barcelona suffered their first league defeat of the season as Celta Vigo stunned the defending champions 4-1. Nolito haunted his former club by scoring the opener and setting up 2 more for Lago Aspas. Neymar got a goal back 10 minutes from time before John Guidetti netted a 4th for the hosts. The defeat pushed Barcelona to place 5th in the table. And Barca's slump gave rivals Real Madrid the opportunity to go top of the table after they beat Athletic Bilbao 2-1. Karim Benzema scored a goal each in both halves to keep a clean slate this season. Benzema now has scored 5 goals from 5 games. And that's all we have for you on the news tonight from the entire team here. Good night and join us again tomorrow.